The gold hit the wooden table with a sharp metallic crash. Everyone in the courtyard fell silent. Mahendra Seth did not raise his voice, yet his presence pressed against the three brothers like a weight. In his wrinkled hands were three identical pouches. He pushed them forward. "Take them," he said. Vikram grabbed his first, smiling before the words even settled. Suraj hesitated, fingers twitching, eyes narrowing as if the coins might disappear. Neel stepped forward last, receiving his pouch with both hands. Mahendra's gaze moved from one brother to the next. "Each of you now owns 10 acres of fertile land on the eastern side of Devgarh, and each of you holds 50 gold coins." Vikram laughed softly. "Then today is a good day." Mahendra leaned forward. "It will be, or it will ruin you." The courtyard murmured. He continued, "I will return in 1 year. What you build or destroy will tell me who you are. Wealth does not measure a man. What he does with it does." The challenge hung in the air. Vikram tossed his pouch into the air and caught it. "A year is plenty of time." Suraj tied his pouch tightly and tucked it inside his tunic. Neel said nothing. And just like that, the test began. That very evening, Vikram walked into the marketplace with a swagger that made heads turn. He spread the coins across a cloth in front of Taylor. "I want the finest fabrics you have." The tailor blinked. "All of them. All of them." Within days, music filled Vikram's courtyard. Lanterns glowed late into the night. Laughter spilled into the streets. He hired musicians, bought expensive food from traveling merchants, and surrounded himself with admirers. One friend clapped him on the back. "You've changed, Vikram." "No," Vikram replied with a grin. "I've simply begun to live." Meanwhile, Suraj sat alone inside his house. He poured his gold coins onto the floor and counted them 3 times. 50, he whispered. He looked at his land from the window. It stretched wide and open, waiting. Workers in nearby fields prepared soil and planted seeds. He shook his head. "If I plant and the rains fail, I lose everything. If I invest and pests come, I lose everything." That night, he dug a deep hole beneath his floorboards and lowered the pouch inside a small wooden chest. He covered it carefully. "There," he muttered. "Safe." Neel stood beneath a banyan tree at dawn, holding his pouch. "What is the right way?" he whispered to himself. An old farmer passing by stopped. "Talking to yourself won't grow crops." Neel smiled faintly. "True, but thinking might." He opened the pouch and separated the coins into 4 small piles. "For seeds," he said quietly. "For tools. For emergencies. And for helping." "Helping?" The old farmer raised an eyebrow. "Helping whom?" Neel glanced toward a small hut nearby where an elderly widow struggled with broken fencing. "She cannot farm alone," Neel replied. The farmer studied him. "Most men think of themselves first." Neel shrugged. "Most men fail." Days passed quickly. Vikram's parties grew larger. The music louder. The coins fewer. One evening, Suraj walked past Vikram's house and frowned at the crowd. "You are wasting everything," Suraj snapped. Vikram laughed, waving a goblet. "You are wasting life. At least I will still have my gold next year. And what will you have done with it?" Vikram shot back. Suraj had no answer. Across the village, Neel worked his land under the rising sun. Sweat soaked his back. He hired 2 laborers and paid them fairly. He purchased sturdy tools and quality seeds. He repaired irrigation channels long ignored. When the widow tried to refuse his help, he shook his head. "You can repay me when your field produces again. And if it does not, then we'll try again." Weeks turned into months. Vikram began borrowing from his own future. He sold 2 gold coins to cover a gambling loss. Then 5 more to host a festival. He assured himself more opportunities would come. "Relax," he told a worried acquaintance. "Mahendra Seth has plenty. He'll give more if I need it. Or he'll take it back," the man warned. Vikram scoffed. Suraj, meanwhile, spent his days guarding what he had. He checked his floorboards nightly. He refused to hire workers. When merchants offered him high-quality seeds, he declined. "Too risky," he murmured. One afternoon, he watched Neel's field being plowed. "You're spending too much," Suraj called out. "I'm investing," Neel replied. "And if you fail?" Neel paused. "Then I will learn." Suraj shook his head. Learning does not replace lost gold. Neel met his brother's eyes. Unused gold replaces nothing. The first rains arrived. Vikram's land remained untouched, weeds growing freely. Suraj's land remained bare. Neel's fields sprouted green. For a brief moment, something flickered inside Suraj's chest, regret. But fear silenced it. One night, Vikram stumbled home alone. The music had grown quieter lately. Fewer friends showed up. He emptied his pouch and stared at the remaining coins. "How many?" he muttered. 10. Only 10. His smile faded. Outside, laughter echoed from another courtyard, this time from workers celebrating a good planting season on Neel's land. Vikram clenched his jaw. "It's temporary," he told himself. Across the village, Suraj lay awake staring at his ceiling. What if Neel succeeds? What if I end the year with nothing but buried coins? He turned on his side. Better safe than sorry. Neel walked through his field the next morning, touching the young crops gently. A worker approached. There are signs of pests at the edge. Neel exhaled slowly. "How much damage?" "Small. For now." "Then we act now." He purchased natural repellents and worked alongside the laborers late into the evening. Exhausted, he sat under the banyan tree again. "You look tired," the old farmer observed. "I am." "Regret." Neel shook his head. "Responsibility." The old farmer smiled. "Good. That means you're becoming a man." As the sun set, the three brothers stood unknowingly at the edge of their own consequences. One burning through opportunity, one bearing it, one building it. And the year had only just begun. The shouting started before sunrise. Vikram stood in the middle of his courtyard, arguing with a moneylender. "You said you would repay me after the festival," the moneylender barked. "I will." Vikram snapped. "Business is slow, because you have no business." The words stung. Several villagers watched from a distance. Vikram felt their eyes. He forced a grin. "Fine. Take 3 coins." "5. 3. 5. Vikram's jaw tightened. He tossed 5 coins into the man's hands. The pouch felt frighteningly light now. When the moneylender left, silence swallowed the courtyard. That evening, only 2 guests showed up for what used to be grand celebrations. One whispered to the other, "The gold is drying up." Vikram heard. Meanwhile, Suraj dug up his chest to count his coins again. 50. Still 50. He smiled with relief. But when he stepped outside, he noticed cracks forming in his field's soil. The rainy season would not last forever. A neighbor approached him. "Suraj, are you planting this year?" "I am waiting." "For what?" "For certainty." The neighbor sighed. "Certainty does not grow crops." Suraj bristled. "And risk does not guarantee them." The neighbor walked away, shaking his head. Across Devgarh, Neel faced his own storm. A sudden infestation struck the eastern side of his field. Leaves shriveled. Workers panicked. "We might lose half," one warned. Neel's heart pounded. "We will not." But the damage... Act now. He spent more gold than he intended, buying treatments from a distant trader. For 3 nights, he barely slept, walking the rows with lantern in hand. On the 4th morning, new green shoots appeared. The workers cheered. Neel allowed himself a small smile. At the river one evening, the 3 brothers crossed paths. Vikram looked thinner. Suraj looked restless. Neel looked tired but steady. Vikram broke the silence. "So, little farmer, how goes your empire?" Neel answered calmly. "Growing." Suraj scoffed. "At what cost?" "At effort." Vikram leaned against a tree. "Effort is overrated. Life should be enjoyed." "And how is that working?" Suraj asked sharply. Vikram's eyes flashed. "At least I have lived." Neel stepped closer. You are mistaking noise for life." Vikram laughed bitterly. "And you mistake mud for meaning." Neel's voice lowered. "Gold is not meant to sit or to vanish. It is meant to move with purpose." Suraj folded his arms. "Purpose invites loss." Neel shook his head. "Inaction guarantees it." The words hung heavy between them. Weeks later, Vikram made a desperate decision. He sold 2 acres of his land to a trader from another village. When the documents were signed, he stared at the empty horizon where his boundary once stood. "It's temporary," he whispered again, though his voice lacked conviction. That night, No music played. Suraj's fear deepened as harvest season approached. He watched Neel's crops stand tall, golden under the sun. He stood in his own barren field and felt something unfamiliar, shame. He rushed home and dug up his chest. Maybe I should plant something now. But the season was nearly over. The rains were fading. If I plant now, and it fails, I lose coins. He hesitated too long. The opportunity passed. Neel prepared for harvest with careful planning. He calculated yields, negotiated fair prices with merchants, and set aside a portion of grain for struggling families. One worker asked him, "Why give away what you earned?" Neel answered, "Because strength shared becomes stronger." The widow approached him with tears in her eyes. "My field is alive again because of you." Neel bowed his head. "Then use it well." Word spread throughout Devgarh. Respect followed. Vikram heard whispers. Neel's harvest will be the largest in years. He felt anger twist inside him. "It's luck," he muttered. But deep down, he knew better. One afternoon, Suraj confronted Neel near the well. "You think you are better than us now?" Neel looked surprised. "No, you walk as if you have one. There is no competition." Suraj's voice trembled. "You risked everything." "And you risked nothing," Neel replied gently. "Exactly. And what has that given you?" Suraj had no answer. The day Mahendra Seth was due to return grew closer. Vikram avoided the marketplace. Suraj avoided eye contact. Neel continued working. On the final evening before Mahendra's arrival, a storm hit Devgarh. Strong winds lashed the village. Rain poured mercilessly. Vikram ran outside to secure what little remained in his courtyard. One of his remaining storage sheds collapsed. He fell to his knees in the mud. Suraj rushed to check his house, terrified someone might steal his buried gold. Neel and his workers fought to protect the harvested grain. They tied down coverings and reinforced barriers through the night. By dawn, the storm had passed. Damage was visible everywhere. Vikram's losses were obvious. Suraj's land was even more hardened from erosion. Neel's crops, though shaken, remained largely intact because he had prepared. As the sun rose, word spread through the village. Mahendra Seth had arrived. Mahendra Seth walked slowly through Devgarh, leaning on a carved wooden staff. Villagers greeted him with cautious smiles. He nodded but did not linger. "Call the brothers," he instructed. They stood before him once more, just as they had a year earlier. But they were not the same men. Mahendra looked first at Vikram. "Show me." Vikram swallowed and led him to his land, or what remained of it. 2 acres were gone. Weeds covered most of the rest. The broken shed leaned sideways. Mahendra's expression did not change. "How many coins remain?" Vikram hesitated. "None." "Where did they go?" "Into life," Vikram replied weakly. Mahendra stepped closer. "Did life grow from them?" Vikram's silence answered. Mahendra turned to Suraj. "And you?" Suraj's hands trembled as he brought the wooden chest forward. "I protected what you gave me." Mahendra opened it. 50 gold coins gleamed inside. "Did they multiply?" "No." "Did they serve anyone?" "No." Mahendra closed the chest. Gold buried is opportunity buried. Suraj's shoulders sagged. Finally, Mahendra faced Neel. "Show me." Neel led him across wide fields of harvested grain stacked neatly in storage. Workers greeted Mahendra respectfully. The widow stood proudly beside her own thriving plot. "How many coins remain?" Mahendra asked. Neel answered honestly. 10. Mahendra raised an eyebrow. "I spent 40, Neel continued, "on seeds, tools, wages, repairs, and aid." "And what did it bring?" Neel gestured around them. "Food, work, stability, growth." Mahendra studied him carefully. "And what did it cost you?" "Comfort." Mahendra smiled faintly. "Good." He turned to the gathered villagers. "Listen well," he said loudly. 3 men received equal gifts. One consumed his future for pleasure. One protected his fear instead of his potential. One accepted responsibility. Vikram stepped forward suddenly. "I can rebuild." Mahendra nodded. "You can, but you must work." Suraj's voice cracked. "I was afraid to lose." "And so you lost time?" Mahendra replied. He faced Neel again. "You understood something the others did not." Neel lowered his gaze. "I only worked." "No, Mahendra Kedektiv." You balanced ambition with service. That is rare. Mahendra then did something unexpected. He addressed the entire village. From this day forward, Neel will oversee the cooperative lands beyond the river. His judgment has earned it. Gasps fill the air. Vikram felt envy burn inside him. But beneath it, something else stirred. Resolve. Suraj looked at his chest of gold and saw, for the first time, not security, but wasted seasons. Mahendra placed a hand on Vikram's shoulder. If you truly wish to rebuild, begin today. He turned to Suraj. Plan something. Even if it fails, you'll have acted. Finally, he faced Neel. Do not let praise corrupt you. Neel nodded. I will remember. As Mahendra walked away, the brothers stood in heavy silence. Vikram broke it first. I was a fool. Suraj whispered. I was a coward. Neel looked at them both. We were tested. Vikram clenched his fists. Help me start again. Neel extended his hand. We begin at sunrise. Suraj hesitated, then asked quietly, And me? Neel smiled. Especially you. The next morning, the three brothers stood together in Vikram's neglected field. For the first time, there was no arrogance, no fear, only work. Vikram dug into the soil with determination. Suraj followed, awkward at first, but persistent. Neel guided them without pride. Sweat replaced excuses. Action replaced hesitation. Weeks passed. Small green shoots began to emerge once more. One evening, as they rested beneath the banyan tree, Vikram spoke softly. I thought enjoyment made me free. Suraj added, I thought safety made me secure. Neel replied, Purpose makes a man whole. Vikram looked toward the horizon. Do you think Mahendra will ever trust us again? Neel answered, Trust is earned daily. Suraj glanced at his hands, blistered and sore. Then we begin earning. The village watched the brothers change. Respect slowly replaced judgment. The lesson spread beyond them. Time passed, but this time it was not wasted. It was used, and that is the measure of a man. If this story stirred something inside you, do not let it end here. Ask yourself what you're doing with the gold in your own hands, your time, your energy, your opportunities. Are you consuming them, burying them, or building something that will outlast you? If you believe stories like this matter, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the next one. Like this video if it spoke to you. And in the comments, tell us which brother you relate to most, Vikram, Suraj, or Neel, and why. Because in the end, the measure of a man is not what he is given. It is what he chooses to do with it.